How 1982 Fleer made John Littlefield a hobby legend. Some names, when spoken, or even just whispered in a collector's soul, rumble forever throughout the hobby firmament, like the thunder of a Topps vending case dropping from the heights of Mount Olympus. You know them like your own heartbeat. Mickey Mantle, Nolan Ryan, Ken Griffey Jr., Honus Wagner, John Littlefield, Jackie Robinson, Mike Trout, Don Mattingly. Now, I know what you're thinking, but truly, Don Mattingly was a pioneer of the hobby in the 1980s. Heck, without his 1984 Donruss rookie card, there simply wouldn't be a modern hobby, at least not the way we know it. So Donnie Baseball fits this group like a first baseman's glove. What? Wait. John Littlefield? You're questioning John Littlefield and not Don Mattingly? Wow, okay. And I suppose you're a fan of the 1989 Fleer Billy Ripken fiasco too, right? I thought so. Well then, you definitely need to know about John Littlefield. Because without the big right-hander, there would have been no Mr. F-Face as the new decade dawned. So when Fleer broke through Topps monopoly in 1981, they sort of rushed their set to the market. Donruss too. And while you could argue Donruss had more of an excuse, seeing how it was Fleer who pushed the whole antitrust business through the courts in the first place, and really should have been ready to pull the trigger on their inaugural set, the truth is, errors abound in both issues. Not only that, but a bunch, maybe even most, of the 283,881 different gaffes in the two sets were eventually corrected, leaving the hobby with a bevy of a suddenly revered, scarce and valuable variations. There had been error cards before 1981, sure, and even corrected versions. But never before had those mistakes come with the built-in spotlight of collectors poring over every nuance, every pulpy pore of each card. Donruss and Fleer offered hobbyists their first real variety in 25 years after all, and we were going to take in every little molecule of excitement we could. And so, of course, some eagle-eyed noticed that the back of select Greg Nettle Fleer cards said Craig Nettles. And of course, a furor ensued because Nettles was a star, and because Fleer fell into a trap naturally set by the unusual spelling of his first name, and because they fixed their mistake. It didn't take long for the collective cardboard cognoscenti to decree that the C Nettles version of the card was super scarce, and for prices to escalate from mere cents to actual dollars for a brand new card. Error card mania was born, and the scrutiny ratcheted up 100 notches more. That off-season, the hobby slipped into its then customary wintry nap and gave us all a chance to reflect on the madness that had gone down over the summer, from the strike that tore through the baseball season to the phenomenon of Fernandomania, to the messy first issue from Donruss and Fleer against a staid and sort of boring Topps offering. Topps had better step up their game, the hard-nosed business type said. Donruss and Fleer are trash, the old-school spoke flappers decried. I hope they fix up some stuff, but I love them all, the hobby comebackers mooned. What can I make money on in 1982? The hand-wringing, money-grubbing speculators pondered, avarice glinting in their eyes and drool drooling from their drooling, glossy lips. And with a year under their belts, and general expectations were that Donruss and Fleer would do better in 1982, they had to, right? Well, sorta. Donruss pretty much did improve across the board, with thicker cardstock, better photos, and sort of a snappier look overall. Fleer, though? Well, they changed their design, at least a little. Whether you preferred the baseball in the corner of the 1981 cards or the little dash pills of color in the 1982s, kinda determines which design you like better. I'll just point out that these are baseball cards and leave it at that. But photo quality, it's a wash at best. And there are plenty of 82s that make the 81s look like 8K super renderings. Okay, but the errors were gone, right? You might think so. But then you're the same joker who questioned my inclusion of John Littlefield on my rundown of Wax Pack Gods to start out this whole diatribe. Because let me tell you, the 1982 Fleer rewrote the book on what we could expect from error cards, especially those of the spectacular variety. Why, I could write a whole article about the atrocities of this set. And I might. And before you ask, no, this is not a story about that. This one is something else. This long and windy road is all about how John Littlefield belongs in that roll call of hobby heavyweights that led off our discussion. To set the stage, here is his 1982 Fleer card. Now, I can tell you that Littlefield's hobby status has nothing to do with his major league record. 7-8, 3.39 ERA, 11 saves over the parts of 2 seasons in the bigs. Heck, Littlefield wasn't even in the majors the year this card was issued. Never would be again, in fact. Nope, his last appearance on a major league mound came for the San Diego Padres on October 4th, 1981, about 10 months after the Cardinals had traded him westward in a deal involving Raleigh Fingers, and about 5 months before the Friars released him. But Littlefield's standing among collectors has everything to do with his stint in San Diego, with one specific pitch in particular, the one depicted on his 1982 Fleer card. Now pause here and take a good look at that pick again. Then, let's go back and reread the intro to this piece, especially this bit. Well then, you definitely need to know about John Littlefield, because without the big right-hander, there would have been no Mr. F-Face in the new decade that dawned. Do you see the disconnect? No? Here is the relevant text again, this time with some emphasis added. Well then, you definitely need to know about John Littlefield, because without the big right-hander, there would have been no Mr. F-Face as the new decade dawned. That's right, Littlefield is a righty. His Fleer card shows him as a lefty, and Fleer corrected the error early on. But not before the mythology of the thing ran rampant through the hobby. Back in those prehistoric days, way pre-internet days, we caught whispers and winks about hobby trends from friends and at local shows, and every once in a while in the pages of hobby news outlets like Sports Collector's Digest. And all those whispers for years told us that the reverse negative Littlefield error card was among the rarest of all baseball cards, and certainly the rarest of new baseball cards. Purported prices reached $50 and beyond, at a time when such hefty sums were generally reserved for heavyweights like Mantle, Rose, and Ruth. And so John Littlefield became a hobby heavyweight in his own right. Time has passed, Billy Ripken has punked, and we've been hoodwinked time and again by shiny one-of-one chromy gadgets, and pretty much every card from the 1980s has turned up in greater quantities than we ever imagined possible. The left-handed John Littlefield hasn't been spared that fate entirely either, as the PSA population report shows that nearly 200 of the error cards have been graded. So that's about 199. Okay, 191 more than we thought existed circa 1984 or so. Today, even with that avalanche of specimens flooding the landscape, and even though it's lost most of its share of the limelight over the years, the Littlefield error card checks in at $200 to $300 in PSA 8 condition. Move up to a PSA 9 and you're looking at a $750 plus card. And if you insist on a perfect 10, expect price tags north of $2,000 if you can find one. Steep prices to be sure, but what else would you expect from a card that helped redefine the hobby? One that helped spur on a mania that drove interest to new heights and gave dudes like Billy the Kid a chance to grab a few of their own brief moments in the spotlight. You wouldn't expect anything else, that's what. After all, Lefty John Littlefield is a bona fide hobby legend.